Cern Basher is here today, and he tells me that he brought a slide or two.
8.
Eight. Okay, eight.
It's a record for the least number of slides.
The least number of slides. So they better be really good.
They're very impactful.
Very impactful. Well, speaking of impactful, we had Tesla crashing through 338, which was this resistance level. Now it seems to be stuck at 340, trying to going up and down and up and down. And last night, Nicholas Gibbs told me that it was that was fine with him. He was all good about it being in that range. Do you have any thoughts about upward or downward movement over the next few months? It seems like we have a lot of catalysts in view.
It will fluctuate, Randy.
It will fluctuate.
I find it interesting how a certain resistance level is identified and then it smashes through such resistance levels only to find a new resistance level.
Right.
There's a lot of resistance out there.
There's a lot of resistance out there. I notice also that Bitcoin, your favorite, it also crashed through to an all-time high, at least in the intraday trading on Sunday, I think, and then seemed to be approaching that today. I'm not sure whether it's, actually gotten through to 2250 or something.
We're at 121,500 right now.
120, but it was 122.5, right? Was the high?
I think so, something in that range. Yeah.
So, do you have a direction on that? Because you're much more invested, let's say, well, no, actually, Tesla. You're very invested in Tesla and very invested in Bitcoin. So, any directionality on that? Do you think it goes to 170 or 250?
Well, it's number go up technology. It's
Right.
designed to go up over time as money goes into it because the supply is fixed.
Right.
For any more dollars that go into it means the price has to go higher.
Right.
Right. I'm one of, I don't know how many people out there see the opportunity in both Tesla and Bitcoin. And I happen to think that they are kind of two peas in the same pod, so to speak. And we may have talked about this before a little bit, but just the gist of it is if Tesla is, and Elon is taking us from one system to another system, it also follows that the existing financial system no longer works for a new system of AI and autonomous agents.
Right.
Right. We need something that's 24/7, that's decentralized, that's global, all that stuff, right? It's highly efficient, where you can have micropayments. None of that works very well on our existing system.
And Elon has said that the robots could create a situation where the economy is no longer anything like what we think it is.
Definitely. And I definitely see that as being in our future. It's just a question of when. But, just conceptually, if you develop a robot that is fully autonomous, that can do anything a human body can do. Now, granted, it'll be a long way before robots can do gymnastics like the best gymnast can do, or run as fast as the best human sprinter. But mark my words, those things will happen too, right? In the meantime, they can be very useful forms of labor, doing very simple things. We saw a video yesterday from Figure of their robot folding laundry, folding towels.
About as well as I do.
Better than I do it.
Yeah, my wife does. My wife does a better job, but
yeah,
it was maybe on the order of how well I do it. Yeah,
that's right. And so, it doesn't have to do things necessarily better than a human, although ultimately it will. But just because it can do it 23 hours a day, even if it takes it 2 hours to fold my laundry, I'm happy to let it do that. You know?
And so that changes things.
Yes.
We would all agree that changes things if the robots get involved to that level. So you're making the case that the robots and maybe even other robotics and AI will change the way the economy works in such a way as that we will need a different way to think about or to work with currency, money, fiat, whatever. It's all going to change. And you're thinking, is that a blockchain-based system like Bitcoin or other cyber currencies are going to be the way?
Most definitely, and for all kinds of reasons, not just for transactions, which, by the way, Bitcoin is not very well designed for. In order for that to work with Bitcoin, there's going to have to be some other layers on top of it, or maybe there'll be some other crypto assets that are used for transactions that are super high speed. And there are already some in existence that are phenomenal. So we'll have to see whether or not those technologies, stand the test of time to see if they are widely adopted, but they have great potential. I'm in the camp that believes that Bitcoin does not need to be money used for transactions. That Bitcoin has a very bright future just being the best store of value asset in the world. Right. And it's important to understand that the two elements of money, right, is one is a utility, for transactions, and another form of money or use of money is as a store of value.
Right.
Right. And that's where gold is traditionally thought of as being a long-term store of value, although it too has had its issues over the millennia.
Sure. Sure.
Right. So that's the opportunity for Bitcoin. I think there's some, in a world where you've got autonomous agents making transactions on our behalf 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, you need some kind of global decentralized system to handle those transactions.
All right. So now let's back up just a minute in case people aren't keeping up here. I know all of you are really smart on all this, but just in case there's one. So we have digital agents now. This is the very beginning. It's only been a couple of months or 3 or 4 months now that these digital agents are being turned loose by Grok, by OpenAI, and others who will go out and make the phone call for us, arrange our travel, arrange our haircut, whatever it happens to be, and then just let us know what time we need to show up. And they'll be doing basically any kind. They can go in any place on the net, go in, find it, bring it back, take the research, manipulate the research, turn it into a paper. I mean, it can do all of that without our engagement as long as we give it the first prompt, which is, write a paper about Tesla.
Yeah, it'll just simply be a command.
Right.
I want to go to New York City next weekend, book the flight, book some restaurants, book a hotel.
Surprise me.
Surprise me. Right. And you can give it other parameters. You say, I don't want to spend more than X, Y, or Z, or you say, I like certain food or whatever it is. And it will custom design your itinerary and make all the necessary bookings for you.
Right.
That's something that is in our future.
Okay, so there was also some Tom Lee and others over the weekend actually were kind of on the same page as you, talking about the fact that even what Trump is doing with the way he's reordering international trade, reordering maybe the Fed entirely. The Treasury Department obviously has a completely new approach to the way they're looking at the economy and what the parameters should be, what some of the key performance indicators should be, KPIs. So we are getting this very big shift in the way that that Trump is looking at things. You mentioned Musk, and I was thinking just before we went on the air that we seem to be kind of in an era of giants, almost like the beginning of the Republic. There seems to be, we've got the giants in AI. We've got the giants in robotics. We have the giants on the world stage in terms of politics and the economy. And everybody if you take the crazy divide among the folks, if you take that crazy divide out of it, it seems like that those giants all seem to be kind of headed in this same direction, and it looks pretty darn exciting.
It does. I think you've touched on a couple of really interesting things there. Let's talk about the sort of the giants element. If you think about technology, there are some technologies that are more than just a product. Some technologies become a protocol, right? So think about the protocol behind the internet,
Right.
right? TCP/IP and others. And there's a protocol behind email, SMTP, etc. there's other protocols that we operate by. And the interesting thing about protocols is they are a winner take all situation. Now, it remains to be seen with anything in AI, whether it's a winner take all. Is FSD a protocol rather than a technology?
Right.
If it is, it's winner take all,
Right.
right? Is anything that we're doing on the humanoid bot side a protocol?
Well, it's built on FSD.
Well, yeah, right. So it remains to be seen, right?
Yep.
So such is the opportunity to form giants, because if your technology becomes the protocol, then again, it's winner take all.
So does that kind of dovetail into Elon's decision on Dojo? Jensen Huang talking about it's all going to be on the inference side from now. I mean, yeah, they're still going to need training, but the big number of chips that are going to be needed is all going to be on the inference side. Elon has switched and said, okay, we're going to make this AI6 chip, which we're going to use for training and for inference. And it's all going to be, FSD. Does that fit the protocol concept that you're thinking about?
It's a good question. I think I need to think more deeply about that. I think as I see it, the key thing with chips is just going to be sheer volume. If you're going to produce billions of humanoid robots and hundreds of millions of robotaxis and other AI-powered things, you're going to need a lot of chips. And so it's probably better to put your resources in the scalability of that rather than just trying to beat NVIDIA at its game. Although again, if Tesla's making its own inference chip, then they're solidly in that field too. I don't know. I'm still sort of working through that, Randy. I think that's interesting. But for me, for Tesla, the security of their chip supply is going to be the key factor. Now, ultimately, can Tesla develop a better inference chip than NVIDIA could ever produce? I don't know, and that remains to be seen. And I
Well,
think the good news is that Tesla has a good fallback position,
yes.
right? Now, they've been successfully making their, hardware 3, AI 4 chips for years.
Yeah, yeah,
So Tesla has a pretty amazing track record of designing inference chips for their needs.
right.
And no one knows their needs better than Tesla does.
Sure.
Right. And so I think that's, again, from a security of supply standpoint, really smart. It's also really smart if AI6 and Dojo really is kind of the same thing. It's just, plug and play. You add more AI6 chips and you get a Dojo supercomputer. That's pretty nifty.
Yeah, yeah. And again, if your chip if your big chip, your stack is designed for inference and not for training, if that's what you're really building it for,
Yeah.
then that seems to me, and again, whether NVIDIA builds a chip, an inference chip that is as good as Tesla, at least with regard to the version that goes inside an Optimus or goes inside a car, specifically designed for some kind of an embodied situation. Tesla's always said it's low wattage, it's low weight, all the things that it's, they've created it around the whole concept of it being used in the real world as opposed to being used in a data center.
That's right. I also think that something interesting is developing, and I don't know yet how this will work out, but certainly Elon benefits from NVIDIA's success to the extent that NVIDIA can develop the latest, greatest systems. Tesla's first in line to buy those.
100%.
Right? So that's great. But again, only Elon and Tesla know what they're working on, what xAI is working on, and where they're trying to take those businesses. And so if you have an opportunity to make your own chip and think about what your needs are in the future, maybe, just maybe, you can leapfrog your competitors. But if you can't, you have a pretty good fallback because you're still partnered with the best chip maker in the world.
Right.
So that's an interesting sort of optionality, I think, that's unique for Tesla in particular.
Right. Right.
Right.
I also just maybe to put a cap on this, and then we'll go to your slides. I had suggested to Brian Wong last week that Tesla might have a very big advantage compared to any of their competitors in that they are already running the next level of grok. We haven't seen the level of grok uh, as we and Tesla competitors don't have access to the
Yeah.
next level of grok. They might have some access to the next level of NVIDIA chips, but they certainly don't to what Tesla is doing. I mean, the AI or XAI, they don't.
Yep.
So by virtue of being able to already be operating in the most advanced capabilities, where the rest of the competition is still a layer back, I think this is a big deal that isn't being reported. And I can't tell you who it was, but there was an article over the weekend that confirmed that.
Yeah. And I think, again, the interesting thing for me is Elon is a master at securing the supply of things that he needs.
Mhm.
And he is capable, seemingly, of looking ahead, well ahead,
Yes.
and figuring out where the shortages are going to be and positioning his companies in places where the competition probably just shakes their heads and say, how did they figure that out?
Right. Exactly.
Right. And so I think we may be seeing sort of the some of the moves with respect to chips on that front, because the reality is we're not going to be able to produce enough chips fast enough.
Yeah. Okay. So I lied. I have one more question or one more thought experiment for us to challenge ourselves with, and then maybe even if you don't have an answer today, maybe you could think about it for a week. Um, the S&P is at 22 times earnings.
Mm.
Tom Lee says, well, but actually, if you equal weight it, it's only 16.5 and it's been 17.5. So we might have a little bit of room to go before we get to the highest level of PE that the S&P has ever seen. Typically, people point back to the dot-com bust as one of the times when it hit these levels. And I keep saying there's no comparison to the dot-com bust, so I'm not worried about the bust, but I am thinking about what anybody would think about when you're sitting at all-time highs is it out over its skis? Does it need to correct? So the thought experiment is if we're going into a completely new economy because of robotics and AI, if we're going into a completely new world arrangement because of Trump economics, if we're going into a world where innovation, per Cathie Wood, is going to change medicine, chemistry, just go down the line. ASI is around the corner and we're writing a book on it. And you're one of the authors. Thank you very much. If all of that's happening, is the 22 PE going to have to change? Are we going to be looking at a need to rethink what the multiple can be for the entire US stock exchange?
I have an answer for you, and I
Okay.
think it's a good one.
Okay.
First of all, let me ask you this. In the age-old battle between capital, right? Think of S&P, capital,
Mhm.
and labor, think of wages and union power. Who's been winning?
Well, for the last 50 years, capital's been winning.
Okay. And now as we enter a world where AI can take over jobs
Mhm.
and robotics can take over labor
Mhm.
jobs,
Mhm.
who is going to win going forward? Capital or labor?
It would seem like both, but it may be more that labor will be changing, and maybe you and I can have a conversation about that. Maybe we'll even do a separate show on that. Labor is going to be less in demand, but more sophisticated, as it has been doing for 100 years.
Sure.
So
So
so the pay will be more, and the cost of living will be less in that world.
Yes, but on average, then labor loses out because most of it's not needed,
Oh, I see. Okay.
right?
According to you.
Well, yeah, according to me, and others,
Yes, yes, yes.
right? And so to answer your question, is the S&P overvalued? You have to have a view on whether capital or labor in that yin and yang, who's going to be coming out on top is in the next few years. And in my opinion, capital is going to, again, continue to win at the expense of labor,
Hmm.
right? People's wage growth is going to suffer
Hmm.
because I just don't see them having any power in a world of AI and robotics.
Hmm.
Some people do. There's some people that'll make 100 million a year as AI
Right. Yeah.
scientists, right?
Totally.
Sure. There's always a few of those folks, but there's not many at the top of that heap, right? And so when you would then work back to the S&P, how many of the companies in the S&P in recent years have been doing well? Well,
Yeah, it's just
fewer and fewer, right? And we talk about the Mag 7 and you look at the S&P excluding the Mag 7 and basically all the earnings growth and maybe then some has come
right.
from the Mag 7
Right.
and the rest of the S&P has been flat.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so again, in a world of AI where it's going to disrupt business models, I'm hard pressed to see how those other sort of non-Mag 7 companies. Now, I don't like the Mag 7 as just the only distinction. I think there are some other companies
Sure.
that can do well. But just in general, as a concept, those other companies, the other 493 companies or so,
Hmm. Hmm.
are going to be suffering sort of the consequences of disruption.
Hmm. Hmm.
So for me, I look at the S&P as two distinct things. The AI powered disruptors and the rest of the companies that'll be disrupted in some way. Now, some of them will turn that disruption and create some new things and do really well with it.
And
But, but just in general,
there'll be new ones coming up.
there'll be new ones.
Right.
Yeah. So to look at an S&P then average and say, oh, the whole S&P is at, whatever number, to me, you have to break it out into the two pieces and say, okay, what's the prospect for these companies that are driving a disruption? And again, case in point is Tesla. Tesla has a huge PE. That's contributing to the overvaluation of the S&P average.
Right.
But a lot of us look at that and say, well, that PE means nothing because the market's not considering what's coming,
Right.
right? And I think you could also make that claim for NVIDIA and some other companies. And then there's other companies in the S&P where, okay, the PE ratio looks reasonable, but maybe you're also not considering then the negative impact that disruption is going to have on them. So to me, the average PE of the S&P is useless.
Hmm.
Don't look at it that way. It's not going to serve you well. Um, and again, I think you need to look at kind of the winners and losers in this massive transition that we're going through.
Okay, so if I'm looking at if I'm trying to make some judgments about the overall economy, and of course we know that Trump is going to grade himself based on the overall economy. Are we going to
Yeah.
look at, you know, are we going to look at jobs? Are we going to look at earnings? Are we going to look at, I'm sure he's going to look at stock price. What are going to be, what do you think and let's think, we can think in terms of two things, right? We've got to think about maybe the immediate future, which might be the next 2 or 3 years. And then we
Yeah.
look at the decade, which could be a completely different thing. But in the remaining years of the Trump, and again, it's not that we're in love with Trump, but we might be, but rather that even the left is now acknowledging he's disrupting, he's creating more more interest. You may not like what he's doing, but he's doing a lot of it. Okay. So the fact that we're getting all of this change, how will we judge whether this is smart, dumb, uh, whether this is the right direction?
Well, if you're looking at whether capital is winning over labor, then earnings and stock prices are your indicator, right? If you're looking at whether labor is doing well,
Which is what
right?
Trump wants.
Yeah, because that's where the votes come from. Then you need to look at jobs and earnings and wages,
Uh,
right?
okay.
Average hourly earnings.
Mhm.
And I personally don't have too much hope for that I mean, in the short term, I think we can have job growth. Fine. We're reshoring activity and so on. That's a tailwind. But that's very quickly going to hit a headwind
Okay.
of AI job losses,
Okay. All right.
right?
Yep. All right.
Um, while we're on this topic, actually, this may be a good time to share the 8 slides.
There you go. Go for it.
Let's get these out of the way, shall we?
Okay.
First of all, as we break news on our show all the time. And so I'm here to say that Tesla has rolled out a new service called Not a Robotaxi.
Okay.
Now, the nice thing is that when these vehicles become robotaxis, you just peel off the first 4 letters.
Oh, there you go.
So they're always thinking ahead, Randy. We talked about, the inference chips. Tesla's always been thinking ahead about what they need in the vehicles, and in this case, they're thinking ahead about what they need in the decals on the cars.
So these would be not a robotaxi would be the ones that are in the Bay Area right now.
Yeah, or even a vehicle that you and I buy, this
Yeah.
decal should be on that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just a suggestion for Tesla.
Okay.
Just go ahead and spend the money, put that on there, and then we can rip off the first 4 letters at some point. Yeah. All right. With that brilliant advice, Randy, I need to leave this disclaimer there.
Does this count as one of the 8?
It does.
Oh my goodness.
6 left. We're flying through the charts today. All right. This is interesting, but before we get here, let's go to here.
Okay.
Because this relates to our last discussion.
All right.
Mag 7 concentration in the
Right.
S&P 500. Apologize for the blurriness of this chart. It's not your eyes, it's the chart. Back in November of 2021, January 22, March of 2022, the Mag 7 companies represented about 27.5% of the S&P, and that appeared to be a ceiling. And they bounced off that ceiling 3 times and then went down. Right, down to their rightful place of less than 20% of the S&P.
I see.
Right. But now we are at about 34% again.
Yes.
And again, to your point, it brings up discussions about how big should these companies be? What's the valuation of the S&P and all that? Right. And so it's interesting to think about. But for me, it's a bottoms up thing, not really a top down thing. Right. These companies should be as big as they should be. And you just add them all up and then, oh, okay, that's 34% of the S&P. Fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But this is interesting. So we do have some companies spending a ton of money on building out the future. Collectively, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Meta are spending almost $100 billion a quarter on CapEx.
Yeah.
And most of that's AI.
Yeah.
In Amazon's case, not quite, but still, it's a good proxy. And of course, add in what Tesla is investing and Oracle and a bunch of other big companies. It's a big number. Right. And so this is a big step up from where we were just 5 years ago. You can see that they were combined about 25 billion a quarter. So it's 4x
Right.
in 5 years. Okay. And I think, again, this is just starting.
No,
But
people are talking about $1 trillion a year just for data centers.
Yeah. And to put that in context, this is a chart that I came across. Infrastructure CapEx as a percent of US GDP. So far, AI data centers about 1.2%. Now, it says 2025. I'm not sure if that's the projection for just this year or if that's been in total. I'm not entirely sure yet what that number represents. But on the left side, they show the railroads in the 1800s, about 6% of GDP was spent in CapEx on the railroads. And that was one of the massive investment periods that the United States went through to build the railroads. And it's kind of interesting when you look at the railroad companies as a percent of the stock market back in the 1800s. They reached about 63%. About 2/3 of the stock market was in the railroads.
Wow.
So when we talk about the Mag 7 being, 34% of the S&P, we may not be done yet. They may get to this kind of level at some point.
Yeah. Holy cow. That's great.
And it may not just be 7 stocks. There may be, 25 or something that reach
right
2/3 of the stock market. We'll have to see how this plays out, but it wouldn't surprise me. And And so just to give perspective, I think this is a good historical precedent to look at about what could happen to the stock market as the AI boom really takes off.
And the infrastructure, I mean, pretty much the entire world is in agreement that the infrastructure for AI needs to be done.
Yeah.
You don't have any, political parties saying, "Oh my gosh, we can't do this." You have a few people that are saying, "Oh, it might ruin destroy the world." But basically, even the people who think it might destroy the world think it needs to be done, and hopefully it doesn't. So there's not a lot of resistance. There's not a lot of people talking about like breaking up these companies because they're so large. The only one that's really even contemplated is Google at this point. And so there's not much to get in the way of them spending $1 trillion. And if they spend $1 trillion, pretty much you're going to probably have this number continue upward.
I think so. There's a recognition here that AI is also a weapons technology.
Right.
And so that is why I think that there's leniency and support from the government for companies to spend as much as they can on AI, because we do not want to lose AI supremacy, if that's such a thing,
Right.
to any adversary.
Right. No, it's definitely not just weapons, just overall strategy. Overall strategic. Yeah.
Strategery is a great word, by the way.
Thank you. I like that word. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, again, this is a helpful way to think about it in terms of the capital investment that we put in the railroads. I think we're going to have to do something similar, if not perhaps even bigger, into AI ultimately.
Wow.
So we're just getting started. This is like, I guess, back here, with those stocks, 34% back in 1848, and they topped out 1881 at 63%. So there could be another, 20, 30 years of investment. Although I suspect this will happen faster than what happened with railroads.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Yep.
Yeah. So that brings us to an end of the charts, although we did skip over a couple.
Okay.
And this is a little bit different topic, but Elon said on August 7th that the FSD software update next month will be a major step change improvement for rare conditions. And I kind of sneakily tried to get him to answer a question that was different than what he was talking about.
Right.
And I said, could this be the version that allows the safety monitors to come out? Right. I changed the topic of the conversation here, and Elon bit.
Oh.
So he responded to my question, but he kind of ignored me.
Okay.
He said, this will substantially reduce the need for driver attention, but some complex intersections, heavy weather, or unusual events will still require attention. Okay, so kind of getting at my question.
Yeah.
Not quite.
I saw.
And then
go ahead.
And then he says, note, the Austin Robotaxi FSD build is about 6 months more advanced than what is available in cars in America. And there are some additional breakthroughs in Tesla AI that will make the car feel eerily human. So people ran with this response in all kinds of different directions.
Yeah.
It's promising.
The one that I saw was somebody said, gee, we're not going to get unsupervised. We're just going to get a reduction in the nag. But Elon had said on a separate occasion that unsupervised by the end of the year. So if we're 6 months ahead, if Austin is 6 months ahead and there are breakthroughs, then it's reasonable to assume that we could be still looking at unsupervised before the end of the year.
We could be. I think they're going to err on the side of caution.
Sure.
Yeah, I do think this latest FSD build is very important, both for our vehicles and also for Robotaxi. 10 times the parameter count allows you to consider more things. So that should be favorable for safety from a safety perspective. But directionally, it's in the right direction. It's just going to require a little bit of patience, unfortunately.
So we had I just drove from Riverside to up to Big Sur, which is around 300 miles, about halfway to San Francisco. Can't drive any further because the road's down.
No,
It keeps falling down. Maybe we need some new engineering there, Elon. Could you help out? The road keeps falling down.
some flying cars may come in handy for that road.
Flying cars, there you go. And then somebody else drove, I think, from LA to San Francisco, about 600 miles without any interventions. I did
No,
acknowledge on the show the other day, I had one intervention on the way back. It might not have been an accident, but I just, and I'm on hardware 3, by the way, not hardware 4.
yeah.
But so that's 600 miles with one intervention. I know Larry has driven thousands of miles now, and I don't know if he's keeping a record, but I think some of his long trips have been without intervention. And so somebody suggested this morning, I believe it was, that it's time for somebody to attempt a cross country with no interventions. Or should we just wait another 60 days or so, get the new
Yeah.
FSD, maybe get less nag, and then it'll be time for somebody to attempt a cross-country effort.
I would be game to be a guinea pig for that.
There you go.
I attempted that last fall from Sarasota to Calgary, Canada,
Right,
a 7,000-mile round trip in my
right,
Cybertruck.
right.
And I think I would say on the whole trip, I probably had 4 or 5 interventions.
4 or 5 safety interventions.
Yeah.
Okay,
There were some other interventions just kind of for my, for my impatience,
right. So maybe over 1,000 miles between interventions.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say. It was remarkably good. It made that trip so easy. And so, such a long trip. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see the next version, how much we can perceive, how much better it is.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Right.
And of course, Elon famously years ago said he would do a cross country while sleeping in the back or playing a video. I'm not sure the quote, but the quote was basically without touching the wheel, as in an unsupervised format. In other words, so
He's going to have to do it,
yes.
disguised, because if you've watched Forrest Gump, did you see what happened when he started running across the country? You got quite a following. That would be quite the scene if Elon did that.
Well, you just have to
for
put
us.
the sign on the side of the car, not a robotaxi.
Right.
Then
That would
people
fool everybody.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. All right. Listen, I have just made an executive decision here. We're going to do a separate show. I'm going to recommend everybody come back for this one. It will actually be around chapter 12 of the upcoming book. Cern has just brought up, the subject earlier in the green room. And the question is, will Randy have a job in 5 years? Will there be an opportunity for people to be whatever I am, a YouTuber, an influencer, whatever this channel is that I'm doing, my last profession, which I never thought I would have, but will there still be people doing this job, or will it be an AI version of me or a better looking younger version of me that I can, just grab from some previous video or even a picture according to what they're doing right now on X,
Yeah.
and just have that do my talking for me.
Well, some people have argued, Randy, that AI is the last human invention.
The last human invention. Yes, I consider that as a possible title for the book, and it's been used a lot.
Yeah. We're going to have to come up with something a bit more unique, I think.
We need a better name. Anyway, all right. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to break now, and we're going to come back, and either probably Thursday night or maybe Saturday morning, we'll do that show on the future of your job. Will your job still exist in 5 or 10 years? Or what will the jobs be that replace it? We'll give that a shot in just a little bit.
And we'll see how wrong we can be.
That's right. 100%. Thanks, Cern, for always jumping on. And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.
Thanks, Randy.